Even if you guys aren't done, it's fine. Does anyone want to share with me why some of your ancestors came to this country? Anyone? It doesn't have to be super specific, just general reasons why. Really?
Over there.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
They wanted to have a better life.
Okay. And that's a huge one. That's a huge reason why a lot of people came to this country, because they wanted to have a better life. Is there any other reasons? For a new beginning? That's another good one.
My dad wanted to be an electricity man in Mexico, so he was up in high areas. And he was away from my mom a lot, so he wanted to put me up to find a new job and be more with my family, with my brothers and sisters.
Okay. That's a great reason to come. Anyone else? Okay.
My mom wanted me to come back.
Okay, again, better life. So, I mean, there's a theme here. Most people wanted to come to this country because they wanted a better life. They wanted to have more opportunity. They wanted to be with their family. So you guys have been talking about the urban frontier. We're going to continue on with that, except for now we're going to be speaking about immigration. And immigration around the end of the 19th century, the beginning of the 20th century. Here's some key questions I want you guys to think about while I'm lecturing here. Why did people immigrate to the United States? You're going to find that a lot of the same reasons that you guys just listed are going to be the same reasons that people came back in the late 1800s, early 1900s. Another question, you don't have to write these down, by the way. I just want you to, my bad. I just want you to think about these as I'm talking about them. Another question is, why did some native-born Americans oppose immigration to the United States? That's something that I know is very prevalent in today's day and age, and it's something that was the same back in the late 1800s, early 1900s. The last question I want you guys to think about while I'm lecturing is, how were immigrants expected to assimilate? Okay, so you guys can start writing this stuff now. Here's some key terms I want you guys to get. Assimilate, I just used that. It's basically to integrate into a wider society. An example, let's say you have somebody that is coming to independence from another school. They're coming from a school, you know, let's say a rich school like St. Francis or something. They're coming to independence. For them to be accepted, a lot of you might want them to assimilate to the ways of independence. You might not want them to act the same way that they did at St. Francis. You might want them to act how they should at independence. So you guys want them to assimilate to your ways. And that's kind of the same thing that a lot of native-born Americans wanted immigrants to do back around the turn of the 20th century. The next word, nativism. It's a preference for native-born people and a desire to limit immigration. Same thing, if I want to use the same example of independence, you guys might want only people from independence to stay in independence. You might not want people from Piedmont. You might not want people from St. Francis or from Mitty or from Bellarmine or anywhere else. And if you do have people coming from those other schools, you might want to limit how many of them get to come to independence. So that's kind of a nativism ideal that you guys have about your own school. The last term I want you guys to write down, tenement. It's basically a crowded multi-family apartment. Just think about a one-bedroom apartment with 3 families living in it. And I don't mean a big one-bedroom apartment. I mean like a small, like really small, dark, compact one-bedroom apartment with 3 families living in it. That's a tenement. Okay, 2 terms I really want you guys to have a good understanding about. Migrant versus immigrant. Migrant is someone that moves within their own country. So someone moving, for instance, from New York to California. They are migrating from New York to California. An immigrant is someone who comes from another country. For instance, someone coming from the Philippines to the United States. Someone coming from Mexico to the United States. Someone coming from England to the United States. They are immigrating from those other countries into this country. So migrant, move within the country. Immigrant, come from another country. one of his ideas, this is more in international than it is domestic, but one of his ideas, speak softly and carry a big stick. What he means by that is he wants to negotiate peacefully, negotiate calmly, but while he's doing this, he has the force of the military behind him. So imagine that you guys are like walking and you have a problem with somebody else. This guy over here, he's one man by himself. And you guys are walking and you want to negotiate with him, be like, hey, I heard you were talking smack or whatever, let's figure this out peacefully. But you have all your boys behind you. You have like 10 people behind you and he's standing there by himself. He's going to be a little bit intimidated. You're walking softly trying to, negotiate peacefully, but you have a big stick behind you, a big stick. Okay, you have all your 10 boys behind you like, hey, what's going on? So that's kind of the idea behind here. Okay, he wanted to negotiate peacefully. He wanted to do things in a diplomatic way, but at the same time, he had the full force of the United States military behind him. And he made it clear that he wasn't afraid to use that. Does anyone know what this is? Mount Rushmore.
Oh.
That's all right. Do you know who the 4 presidents on Mount Rushmore are?
Abraham Lincoln, Washington. I don't know who.
Yes, Roosevelt. Good one,
But
Aaron.
is wearing glasses.
Roosevelt's right there. Roosevelt isn't wearing glasses in this because this isn't a political question. I don't think he had contacts at this point. So you have Lincoln here. You have Washington here. Who's this? Roosevelt. Good. You can tell, even though he's not wearing the glasses, you can tell by his mustache and the little part in his hair right there. You can tell that's Roosevelt.
Like a little part.
And who's the 4th person on Mount Rushmore? Jefferson. Okay? Washington, Jefferson, Roosevelt, and Lincoln.
I'm a smart cookie.
You are. Alright, listen up. So these 4 are considered huge presidents in the United States. Listen up, quiet down. We're almost done. Okay, these 4 are considered huge presidents in the United States. They have a monument that has 60-foot tall statues of them. This monument is in a national park. This national park is there because of Roosevelt, because he was an environmental conservationist, and he started the U.S. Forest Services. Okay?
Can you really go inside the head?
Can we? Probably not. Can somebody? Probably. Okay?
You ever get like nose holes?
Can the public? I'm pretty sure the public can't go. Okay? There are people that, yes, can go inside. Alright, next one. Okay, so, teddy bear. You guys remember at the beginning, we had Roosevelt sitting down with his arm around a bear. Right? Okay, here's the story about how the teddy bear name came to be. So, Theodore Roosevelt, he was a big game hunter, meaning he hunted big things. Oxen or bears. Bears. He was a bear hunter. He went on a hunting trip for 4 days. Even though he was experienced and he was a good hunter, he did not see one bear in this hunting trip that he had. So, one of his assistants, what he did is, he caught a bear. I don't know how you catch a bear, but he caught a bear, tied the bear to the tree, called Roosevelt, and was like, hey, Roosevelt, come shoot this bear. Roosevelt was like, no, I'm not going to do that. That is not nice. I'm not going to shoot a bear that you caught and tied to a tree. So what happened was, a journalist heard this story, and he was like, oh, Teddy Roosevelt, he's kind of a nice guy. He wouldn't shoot the bear that was tied to the tree by his assistant. He's like a big teddy bear. Okay, so imagine that you were a Chinese citizen, and you had 4, 5, 6 countries influencing every decision that's made in your country. You probably wouldn't be too pleased about that. You might be a little bit upset. You might want to rebel. And that's exactly what happened. The Boxer Rebellion. Chinese citizens surrounded foreign embassies in China, killing over 200 people and capturing others. People of the embassies. So French, Germans, Russians, Japanese. Pretty much. So the group were called the Boxers because the direct translation meant righteous, harmonious fists. So if you have righteous, harmonious fists, you're a boxer. The Boxer Rebellion. Okay? So this was in China. Now you guys get to involve your maps. Where on this map is China?
Right here.
Right there. I love that. Okay. David.
What?
Here, you go up there and point out where China is on the map.
It's right there. Right there.
Right there?
Yeah.
Yes, that is China. Okay?
Is that long?
Way over here is the United States.
Here.
Remember we talked about on Thursday, building of a navy. You know, for the United States to have their influence around the world, you had to build a strong navy. Do you think that the United States could have any kind of influence in China way over here if it didn't have a strong navy? Exactly. Because for the United States to get to China, it didn't go this way and go through Africa and Europe. Because it went all the way around this way. So think about this as like, this is a globe. So the United States came from here and went west, past Hawaii, this way. Okay, we're going to pretend like that went off. And then, oh my goodness, they magically appear back over here. So they come this way, pass up Japan, right here. And then bam, they hit China. Okay? Oh yeah. It's a long time. It's not like it was a 2-day trip. Like it took a while for them to get there. And at this time there weren't planes, so you had to take boats. And this is going to be something huge coming up. In about 10 minutes we'll be talking about this. Okay? So right here, this portion right here, does anyone know what this portion of China was? No, it's part of China. Remember we just talked about it? Russia was mad. Manchuria. Thank you, John. Right here, this portion of China, Manchuria, where these issues come in. That's why it's not just black and white. It's not, oh, well, I don't want to give up any freedoms. Because I know some of you are willing to give up some things if it'll improve our safety as a whole. Maybe not a lot, but you're willing to give up some things. Okay? In World War I, something similar to this was enacted. You guys are going to read today about the Espionage Act. So, in front of all of you, you have a handout. We are going to read this as a class. I'm going to choose you guys, and you guys are going to read 2 sentences each.
1977.
Okay? So we'll start over here with Susan. You can read the first 2 sentences. I need everyone to listen and follow along, please.
In 1917, Congress passed the
Espionage.
Espionage Act, consisting of a number of bills prepared by our Attorney General. This legislation provided for a fine of $10,000 and up to 20 years in prison for any person who, during wartime, was found guilty of willfully making false statements with the intent of interfering with the war effort, promoting the success of enemy, causing
Insubordination.
disloyalty, mutiny, or refusal of duty in the armed forces, or interfering with the armed forces recruitment.
That was a long 2 sentences. So there are a few things in it that I want to point out. First one, espionage. Does anyone know what espionage is? Michael? Not exactly. Espionage is like spy, essentially. That's where the word spy comes from. Okay? So that's espionage. The Attorney General. Does anyone know who the Attorney General of the United States is?
No.
It's like the country's lawyer. It's the country's lawyer. The Attorney General is basically the United States' lawyer.
What is it?
She needs one. No, that's not. Got it. Insubordination, disloyalty, mutiny, Insubordination, what is that? You guys should know what insubordination is.
Like when you don't listen.
Yeah, when you don't listen, essentially. Disloyalty, if you're disloyal. Mutiny. What's mutiny? If you have a group of members and they rebel, okay, they're committing mutiny. All right, Mark.